Okay, howdy y'all. DIGFM, welcome to our studio, Claris Studio, of course. And this is going to be probably a little different. We'll do a little demo, but we really want to have audience participation. And there'll be points where I'll ask you to, speak, and points where I want you to actually do the demo. And we'll go from there. My name is Beverly Voth. If you don't know me, sorry, but I wasn't going to waste time with a who I am kind of thing. Okay, what is this presentation about? I've got a form that I've already created in Claris Studio, and we're gonna give you a link to it and a QR code, and we're gonna ask you to fill out the form, and at the end of that, we'll give you another link to let you look at the chart of one of the fields in the form. Some are gonna be required and some not. And then after that, we'll go on to talk about, here's what the spreadsheet looks at that data. And then we'll talk about teams and users as managers and members of the Claris Studio team. And that allows them to edit and all kinds of things. We'll sort of go through that with the team and talk about what happens when you've got a team working on a Claris view at the same time kind of thing. We've not tried it a lot, but it's pretty interesting. And then we'll have you ask questions or answer comments or questions within the studio form itself. There's a comment area. Plus, we're going to ask you to put it in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. And then at the end, if we've got time, if you've done something in Claris Studio, we're going to want you to actually talk about it or show it or share it or whatever time we've got left. Okay, first a little bit about where's my data. We've got the Mongo database is in the cloud, and we don't have direct access to it, which is fine with me at this point. We have Claris Studio, that's browser-based. You can log in with the Claris ID, and depending on your team status, you can do different things. And then that allows us to share a view, which we're going to give you a link that doesn't require a login. And once data is collected through the form anonymously or any kind of manipulation that you do actually through Claris Studio as a team member can be shown in Claris Pro as table of data. And data can exchange back and forth between, but it all sort of goes up through that Mongo database in the cloud. Any questions on that right now? If you're not familiar with that, go ahead and.
Can people access that Mongo database directly?
No. And actually, I'm a SQL database manager, and it's like I'm really glad that Claris is keeping people out of it. Any other questions on that?
I got a question. I haven't looked at pricing lately. So the Claris Pro is free, is that correct?
Not yet.
Not yet. But I mean, is it going to be a free app for anonymous users? Do they need Claris Pro, or can they just access?
Have you got the link? Either Vince or Tony post the link to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious about how this the use case for hundreds of anonymous users in terms of is that a feasible thing to create something that won't cost a lot of money to allow lots and lots of users to connect to on an occasional basis? Just a generic very very broad question.
Well, if you have the freemium version, then you can't share.
Right. No, I realize that, but I mean,
I assume you can't even connect to a server with the freemium version. But maybe Steve could speak to that.
It looks like David posted to the chat.
That's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the sign up for the freemium. Okay, so again, I wanted to make sure you know that we've got this Mongo database, and we've got your Claris server as well, and eventually Claris Cloud. But anything that is studio data, if we'll, kind of talk about it. And I believe Connect also uses Mongo, but I haven't seen any documentation, so don't hold me in my word. But the browser is used for Claris Studio to create and edit and then share, and then for anonymous users where there's no login, it's also browser. Some people have had trouble with different browsers, so kind of test around. But the app for Claris Pro is like you've got now for FileMaker Pro, except for a couple things missing that they're hopefully addressing. So, okay, I want to make sure you understood that. We're talking to the cloud, so we have the demo gods on our side. Okay, what can you see in the browser? If you're in Claris Studio, you can create, edit, and submit. You have to log in with Claris ID. There are teams that are the person who owns the actual license for the Claris platform, and they become the manager. And if you have a Claris ID, you can become a manager also. But team members can be set up to be seen in hubs and views, but you have to be invited to a particular team. So you're not automatically added to a team. And they kind of flow also, I believe, once you get into Pro. Once you're a member of a team, then you can also access whatever is set up there. If it's anonymous, you don't log in at all. We'll give you a link in a minute for that. Okay, I'm going to actually show the form. So let me unshare this and bring up my sharing. There we go. Okay. All right. So this is Claris Studio. It is web-based. I'm using Firefox browser. It works really well for me. I use it for just about everything. This is what we call hubs, and you put different views within the hub, and then you can assign members to it. Right now, I don't have any members assigned, but all of my DIGFM team, thanks guys, are members as managers. So that allows them to get in there without being listed as a member. So if I click that, they're automatically in there. Can you see the popover?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going to show, so stop me if I start talking. You say, I can't see it. All right, so I've got views that I set up, and the form was the first thing that I created, and off of that I created a chart. And of course, the table is automatically, the spreadsheet is automatically created once you create a form, so you can get in there and look at that. But I'm going to go through the form just a little bit to kind of tell you what it is. Okay, so this is what you see in a form. Let me make it smaller. Okay, so I've got several pages, and I start the survey, then I link to another page, another page, another page, and of the final submit with some links on it. I'll show you what that is. There are some links that I like to use. Once you get to the end of the survey, I want you to go ahead and, whatever you want to do, drag those off or click them or whatever. So don't necessarily close your browser once you do the survey. And you can submit the survey more than once if you want. Okay. Page 1, it's just a couple fields. Color is required, and I'll show you in a minute why. Comments is required also, but if you don't really have anything to say, NA, not not my choice to fill in anything at this point. Name is optional, last name is optional. Timestamp should automatically fill in. It's a feature now when you set up a field, you can have it auto enter the current time, so you don't actually have to do that. But if you click the little calendar, you can change the date and time if you want. Okay, so this is the biggie right here. The next. The next button has a little thingy on it. Let me zoom up. Looks like an X with some arrows. And it allows you to conditionally jump to pages, which is really, really, really neat. So based on the selection, if you pick the color red, I want you to jump to the red page. If you click the color green as your favorite color, then you're going to go to the green page. If you click blue, it's going to click to the blue page. Now, it kind of frustrated me that I couldn't choose my colors, but those are the colors that come up when you actually are on the form and go to select something. Cancel. So this is like a red page, and all the pages are the same, but they're just different colors. You can upload a file if you want. That's optional. You can sign if you want, and that's optional. And then you're going to click the next button, and the next button will go to that final page for you to submit the form when you actually see it. Okay, are we ready to post the link to sign in? Who's got that? Oh, Eric, on the spot. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back to this.
Just as a warning, every time you click on an external link in WebEx, it's going to give you a warning message. You can completely ignore that and just continue on and it'll work fine.
Okay. I've already added my data in there, so I'm going to just let you do that. As you're doing it, if you got questions, go ahead
wait.
and ask.
Wait, do we want it to log in?
We want them to go ahead and fill out the survey.
Oh, I guess the one I sent to them is having me log in.
Yeah, I think
No, I'm
it's
getting
the
that
wrong
too.
link.
Yeah. Is it supposed to be a public form or is it supposed to require
Yeah, it's supposed to be public, is it
Oh, it's
not?
asking for Claris login.
I posted the wrong one.
You posted the wrong one. Disregard that link.
Okay, because I've just copied it if we need to add it.
Yes, please
Go ahead
post
and
the
put the
right
one you
link.
have.
Okay, I'll post the one I have. Let's see. How do I get back to the chat? There we go. Did I do the right one? No, I don't
like the
think
same
that's
one.
it.
Yeah, it's the right one. It's the
The
right.
survey?
It's
Okay,
the right one.
so yeah, so that's what it should look like when you come up to fill it in. Okay, go ahead and everybody, like I say, as you're doing it, think about it. The form is actually made by dragging fields onto the layout. I'm calling it layout, but it's actually the page. And so like I can kind of test here. Test the signature. It's pretty cool. Or the upload a file if you want, but that's optional.
You know,
Say-
those signatures, like when you sign out at a cash,
Yeah.
where they ask you to sign when you put your credit card. I've always signed as Santa Claus, but they never catch me.
I make it so squiggly. You really can't tell it, what it is. But like I say, as you're filling it out, if you've got questions, go ahead and
I'm
ask.
filling it out on different devices to see what it looks like.
Yeah. Oh, did we do the QR? That was what I wanted to show you. Here's a QR code if you wanna. Me.
I worked really hard to get those QR codes, by the way. Hmm. On the phone, the signature is really tiny, the signature slot. And if I turn it sideways, where does it go? Uh, yeah, it's really tiny, the space for it. Anybody else see that? Hmm.
Bev, can you put that QR code back up, please?
Um, hey, with the image where it says select an image or whatever else it said, there's a feature that I've seen in web apps where you can paste from the clipboard. You can paste an image from the clipboard. I like that feature. I wonder, is that excluded? Is that like a feature that hasn't been implemented? Is that a feature that has a security risk? I use it a lot when I'm posting to like a forum, if I can, and they say, give us a screenshot. And rather than having to kind of create a screenshot, save it on the desktop, and then and then click and select, just to be able to paste it straight from the clipboard into a web page, has always struck me as a game changer innovation.
Mhm. It's interesting. I'm having trouble submitting from my phone. It says that I'm missing some piece of data, some field, but I have all fields filled out. Looks like there's missing or invalid
Oh, mine worked.
information. From your phone?
Yeah, I did one on my laptop and one for my phone.
I can't get the phone one to go through. I'll try it
You're
later
right,
on.
the little space for the signature was kind of small. And I noticed that the result that it displayed was kind of stretched out.
I wonder if signatures are a dying thing eventually, just like fax machines.
I was like, well, you logged in, didn't? Oh, no. Well, I guess here we didn't log in.
Okay,
But most of this,
so the fields that I had to create, attachment red, and signature red, and then on the next page it's the green and the blue. And that was one feature as I was designing this that would have been cool. I wanted separate pages so that we had, dynamics based on the color you chosen, but I wanted to have the same field appear on each of the different pages, and that wasn't possible. So just kind of a future thought.
I'm on my phone now on Safari, and it won't even let me pass the first page. It says look like there's missing information, like Vince was saying.
Yeah, I had the same problem at one point. I reloaded and started over and it went okay.
Yeah, yeah. When I did it on my phone, mobile Safari, it worked really well. Okay, I'm gonna kind of look at the dashboard. Uh-oh, I gotta log in. I know it only lasts for an hour, and I've been on for a while. Even if you're active in it, it's the timeout in the browser in the studio is 1 hour. Um, Hang on.
Bev, I've got two questions.
Mm-hmm.
First one is, when I hit the previous button, do you expect the data from the previous page to be wiped out when you go back?
No.
Because that's what happened with me as I went back and it lost everything
Okay.
I'd put in.
Then put it in the comments or put it in the chat.
Okay.
This part of this is for us to go through this and see what happens, and if you put that you're using mobile browser, that'll kind of be good
Yeah.
feedback too.
Okay, sure. And also that list of links on the end, is there a way to get all those links? I mean,
Yeah, I'll copy them in a minute
just put them in the chat or something.
and
Okay.
post. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
yeah. I had to log back into Studio to get there.
Now now I noticed in FileMaker that we can gather things like, I think, the browser and things like that, right? Can Claris Studio gather things like IP addresses and browsers and things like that?
I don't know. I would guess there might be something, but I doubt it. It definitely uses cookies if you're using a Claris ID, but I don't know how much it's collecting. I'm hoping not, not any more than minimal needed for the browser to be able to refresh and things like that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to paste these in.
What did you paste?
I
There's a whole
pasted
bunch.
in that last page,
Oh, I see. Okay.
the thanks, and it's markup. I'm going to share again in a minute here.
Yep.
Go back. Okay. So when you're looking at the form itself, it looks like links, right? So if I actually click in this, you'll see that it's using Markdown, which is really cool. Any of the places that you have a text block, you can do Markdown text. And so it allowed me to say I wanted a particular link. I wanted to say Claris ID, sign up, and then in parentheses, it has the link name. And here this was in bold with 3 stars. So if you look up Markdown, and there are several tutorials on it of what you can use for this thing, I thought that's really neat. What we need to do is come up with a little widget, a little database that tells us, I want it to be old, I want it to be italic, or I want it to be a link, and help you create the Markdown, because this is not terribly easy to edit in. I can't click anywhere within this particular text block, but I can use the arrow keys. So keep that in mind. And then when I click out of it, it actually shows you what it looks like. Okay. All right. How are we doing on the, let me check the hubs.
So you said in any text block, you can type Markdown.
Okay. Okay. So some's come in. What's it? Yeah, in any text, any object, when you say add an object to your forms or, spreadsheets or whatever, if it's a text block, I think it's only on forms that you get the text block, that you can use the Markdown to make it bold and header and, lists and all kinds of different things. Okay, so I'm sharing now. This is what we've got so far that has come in for the chart. So Eric, go ahead and post that link to see if people can see that.
Oh yeah, it's there already.
Okay.
So much for the red wave we heard about.
Yeah. Okay. Edit the view. Okay. I'm showing that same chart with an edit, and I should be able to filter. Let's see.
Oh, I noticed you didn't get to pick the pie colors.
No, I did. That was the other thing. The pie colors didn't match, and they didn't match the colors that we had in the drop down. It's like that was one of my, comments. It's like, well, come on. So we got 31 that have come in. That's pretty good. But you all should be able to see this as a shared view, which is kind of neat. So it's a way for you to be able to share the results of your dashboard. Now I was going to do another one. I'm going to add an object. I'm going to add a bar chart, and I'm going to choose the fields. I need to edit it. The little gears are edit. Okay, so bar chart. I want from that shadow table that was created, and I want the field browser, and I want to show it. That's fine. Okay, so this is, okay, we can different spelling. So here's another problem with this kind of thing is that if you're going to do a selection where you're going to chart the data, try to keep in mind that you have a selection list so that they're all the same. So we've got Chrome, can't tell what that says, Chrome Incognito, Firefox, Mobile Safari, Safari version, Safari iOS, Safari iPhone, Safari iPad, and
That's a good
So,
one.
So,
was me. That was
yeah.
me.
So again, if you're going to chart anything, later that you're going to, and you want it on a form, you want to make sure that you have a selection list that they can choose from because obviously it's not going to work very well otherwise. Okay. I could change the color of the heading. So the charts is a lot like setting up anything. You just set up a chart, add an object. You can add text blocks, images, and even get rid of the header if you don't want to show a header. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick filter. And, oh, I haven't got it configured. Okay. No, I don't want a quick filter.
It looks like not everybody's participating. Oh, no, there's 14.
This,
There we go.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add a filter. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, I'm going to add a filter. And I'm going to say browser contains Safari. See what it does. Okay, change the chart. So now anything that had Safari in it, even the one, this was probably Chrome, tried Safari, those come up. That's what the filter does. You're allowed to filter your view at that point in the charts. And even the amount of data collected uses that same filter, although I think you can independently. But total 24 results, and we know that's not right. Let's get rid of the filter. And we're back to 31 results, and our chart is what we brought in. Okay. All right. I don't know if you see this or not, but in Studio, when you have different views, they are linked together if it uses the same base table. Like I said, when you create a form, it automatically creates a spreadsheet for you. And I created then the chart off of that. So let's look at the spreadsheet. And you can link right to it, which is pretty cool. So this is what the data looks like in the spreadsheet. And if I were to open this in Claris Pro, then I would see all this data except for the attachments. Attachments don't come across. But any of the signatures, when you get it into Claris Pro, what you get is a JSON object, and it becomes, some data and then a base 64 of the signature. So you could actually query that JSON and put it in a web viewer and see that signature that was put in there. And again, obviously, I had to do 3 separate columns, and I would rather have had one at that point, because then if I were to look at this data in a web viewer, now I'm going to have to test if there's a value here, use that, which we all know how to do, so it's not a problem. But the container there, when you look at it, it zooms it up for you, which I thought was pretty neat. Okay, I can't get rid of that. There we go. Let's see what this one is. So you get a light box view of it, which I think is also kind of cool when you're just looking at it within Studio. Okay. All right. So this is what the spreadsheet looks like. I can move things around. I can resize the columns. At the very end, I can add a column if I want. And I have these choices that I can use. These are the fields that are types of fields that I can add. A short text is just in a browser, is just the short text. The long text obviously is a bigger text area. A number, which is then when you look at it in Studio, it's numeric only. The drop down, then you assign the values you want. Checkbox, the same thing, assign the values. Single choice is a radio button. A date, and you can have a default view for date to be current date. And same way with timestamp. It now allows, this is a new feature, it now allows you to set it to show the user's time zone. So if you were to look at this data as part of the team, like when we did this the other day, Vince saw it in his time zone and I saw it in my time zone for that date and time field. Right now it's probably showing mine. Yeah, it is. It's showing my time zone. And it also has a default value, which can be the current timestamp. And when I set up this field, that's what I did. I said I want it to be the current timestamp. It's required or not required, but it's going to automatically fill in that value. There are a couple other fields that do that too.
I have a question. Is there a
Sure.
way to protect the timestamp so that it can't be edited?
It can be not shown on the form, but it should automatically be brought in when they submit.
Oh, okay.
I haven't tested that. Again, some of this stuff takes, a team to sort of play with.
Right.
Phone, if you have a phone, in the spreadsheet view, it's not formatted, but on the form, it'll validate it as a phone number. Email, same thing, it'll be validated. Currency is a new one, and it just displays whatever the currency settings you want on it. User is also a new one if you're using the Claris ID. Only people who log in with Claris ID, so on your team, will actually have a drop down of a selection list of who can actually be shown on that list. And so that one is also, you can have a default value of current user. So if you log in as Claris ID and you're on my team and you're editing stuff, it will automatically put in whatever you've logged in with that Claris ID. So I thought that was pretty cool. So now we've got automatic entry for user and automatic entry for date timestamp. I think the other one we're looking for then is unique ID, but I haven't seen that. You can actually rearrange rows. You can select a couple, and I think you can move them as one. I think Spreadsheet's pretty cool. Now down at the bottom, it's got a summary field. And so I can summarize the color by empty, filled, unique, percent empty, percent filled, percent unique. Should show me as only 3 unique colors, which we knew. Okay. And then this is a longer form, so when I click on this, it actually brings up a bigger area to type. Another feature that you can do is actually edit the whole record by showing this dialog, which I really like. The tab seems to work pretty well as you're tabbing through stuff.
There's a few questions in the chat right now.
Yeah, okay. Hidden fields. Say, even though I don't show the email on this particular view, it's still a part of the database and it's hidden and can be edited at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and, Eric, go ahead and have people ask questions on this. It's in the chat, I can't
Unmute
see
yourself and ask the question if you put it in the chat.
it. Yeah, I can't see the chat.
I mean, I asked a question, is the phone number validation international? Steve says not yet, which would imply
Yeah.
that it's in the works.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a couple other things that validation wise I wanted to know. So I actually would like to make this bigger.
I think there was another question from Sam. So the quick filter
On the
is
chart,
not
yeah.
case sensitive.
No, I
Yeah.
don't believe so.
Mm-hmm. And then
Which is good.
yeah, I don't know about the timestamp showing, different the different time zone, the different time stamp from where you are. I would almost wish that there would be some other information to tell me what time zone it's in.
Yeah,
Like
that would.
GMT plus.
Yeah, it's stored in the database as whatever that time is, but when it's displayed, it's only a display thing. It isn't necessarily based off of anything other than probably the server timestamp. But I can see it as this was the time in my time zone that this was created. See, I did this earlier today. Okay, questions. I want all Claris IDs to be able to identify themselves on the form. On the form is anonymous, Eric.
Well, I want a non-anonymous version of that form.
Okay, there you go. Is the data encrypted in transit? I don't know, Steve Gleason.
Yeah, it's HTTPS, right?
In terms of identifying the Claris IDs, you can do that.
On the form?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a field that auto enters the username, and that'll put.
No, I don't think it auto enters if it's anonymous shared form. Because nobody's logged in to know what ID there is.
No, so what I was
correct.
thinking is that I wanted anybody who had a Claris ID to be able to come to my form and fill it out. I mean, kind of like, what do we do with like external authentication, right? Where anybody in your organization could, you could set it to everybody in the Active Directory to come in and fill out your form, and it would automatically identify them. Because if you have like a organization of like 2,000 people or 30,000 people, you could create a form and have all your students and staff and faculty or whoever come in and fill out that form, and it would automatically identify them. And I was just thinking, well, if you had something similar where you wanted the Claris community and who could theoretically all have Claris IDs be able to come in and use your form, that it would be able to do that sort of thing.
So if it's not a public form, interesting.
Yeah, Steve just posted. Okay, here's a question from Steve Romick. Is Claris Studio going to replace FileMaker Pro by Thanksgiving? I don't think so, Steve. Barking up the wrong tree.
Just to just to riff on that a little bit more, I know
Yeah.
a lot of people's concern is the Claris platform or Claris Studio is going to replace FileMaker Pro tomorrow. That is, oh, and my dog just jumped on my lap. That is 100% not the case. We don't have a time frame for when the FileMaker platform is going to go away, but it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next month. It's probably not even going to be next year. We have a lot of things that don't work right on the Claris platform right now that need to work in order for your guys' solutions not to break. So it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. And the other point of this is it's Claris Studio and FileMaker Pro. And Claris Studio and Claris Pro are two different things. Studio is what you're looking at right now, and it's in the browser. Pro is an actual file that opens just like FileMaker, but I have to log in with Claris ID. So I can see all this data in Claris Pro. Okay, will there be an Info G, Tony White? Probably. You're going to make one, aren't you?
just having fun here.
Okay, did anybody post the two links, one to David's blog and one to the FileMaker Hacks? If you guys didn't do that, go ahead and post it. There's a couple blogs out there already. I'm doing one on FileMaker Hacks. And the last article I did was all on spreadsheets. Okay. Can we have an online help guide? Yeah, there is one, but it's not full featured yet. Jerry Robin, I have no questions. Of course you do. Vince on phone. Hello, Caitlin. Vince iPad. Okay, thanks for sharing. You bet. Where the heck is golf? Yeah, did we figure that out, Zachary? Where is the backup? That was the question that I've seen, and it's going to Mongo, so it's whatever backup schemes they've got going there, and they haven't told me yet, so I can't answer that. What is my favorite color? Jerry, I don't know. What is it? Oh, yeah, green. Eric asked about protecting the timestamp here, too. And like I said, if you don't put it on the form, they won't see it, but it still should be an auto enter. So whatever data is set up to come in as auto enter, like you can do a default on even the selection list. So I've got the three colors. If I say the default is going to be blue, that's going to come in if somebody doesn't change it. And if I wanted to leave it that way, I don't show it on the form. Okay, Ren, Vin's phone again. Sam, could I update data in Claris Pro and see the update on Claris Studio? The answer is yes. And I'm not going to demo that. There are quite a few videos out there. Steve's done quite a few that kind of show that thing where this is actually a table. Remember that chart where I showed Mongo in the cloud? Claris Studio can also see this table of data. The only exception was any of these attachments. They do not come over. It has to be text, date, time, timestamp, number, and the number has to be really specific.
In Claris Pro, it has to be.
Huh?
In Claris Pro, it has to be that.
Yeah, in Claris Pro, yeah. Julie, nothing. Tony, yeah. Jerry, no questions. Steve, I see some of you did more than once. Is Claris Cloud required or third-party hosting cloud service better? There is no Claris Cloud right now, Eric. That is one of the features that they're working on. There is Claris Server which hosts your Claris profiles. But there's a disconnect. Your Mongo is your Mongo, and your Claris server is your Claris server, and Claris Cloud will be like Claris server up in the cloud, like they've got FileMaker Cloud now. Test laptop, and no name, but does Claris offer Studio for free to try out? And they posted a link in the chat. Did everybody see that? To sign up. Done right now. Jerry again. Okay, so we have 30.
Just to go back on the Claris Studio free, or
Yes.
we're calling it internally freemium, whatever you want to call it. We
Yeah.
did just launch a sign up for that this week. There's links in the community. There's a new YouTube video out that you can check out.
Yep.
But we are going to be offering a call it what you will, a trial or a free experience for the Claris platform. It is going to be limited. It's not going to be limited from a time perspective. So it's not going to be like your traditional like 45-day trial. You're going to be able to use it indefinitely. I don't know what all of the restrictions of it are going to be, but for sake of argument, you may only be able to create a certain number of records, or you may only be able to, you won't be able to connect to anything or whatever. But most of it's going to be fully functional. You'll be able to kick the tires, do whatever you need to do. I know that's been sorely missed for a lot of you, especially when it comes to Claris Studio, because you haven't been able to check it out. Now there's going to be no excuse not to be able to check it out.
Yep. A group. I'm going to add a rule to group by color. And notice how that came to the first column when I grouped it. Do you see that? Okay, something that I noticed that I by accident, it's pretty cool because it freezes that pane, if you will, of you've already got the header that's showing in all records, but the actual fields in the row pins that one field or two fields that you put in the group to be right there. I thought that was so cool. That was one of the things that I asked for. It gives you a count of how many. Change this from unique to %empty. None of them are empty, of course, because that was a required field. But I'm going to get rid of that group. But you've got a way to search. You've got a way to sort. You can filter the database again if I wanted to add a condition. It was pretty cool. I can create another dashboard from that. I can show or hide columns. I'm gonna hide attachments because I can't really export them, but and then you've got table actions where you can import from comma separated. I've only been able so far to do like 50 rows. I don't know if that's just, I haven't tried lately, but Eric, do you remember what you did when you did your import? Was it more than 50?
It was just what we had. It wasn't that many.
Yeah. And you can download the file. So everything that is text, again, not your attachments, that can be comma separated can be downloaded. I don't think I tested with the signatures when you download what you get, but
I can't download.
you can't?
No.
Okay. Thanks, David. And several people are testing, but so
Also,
that's
the limitation. There's a limitation with the import of 50 records, and I'm wondering what that limitation is. Is it a temporary thing, or is it how do I import a CSV of 1,000 records? Steve, do you know that?
I don't know why 50 is the magic number right now. I would hope that's not going to be like that forever, but I don't know.
Yeah.
and that's just here. So if I actually looked at this in Claris Pro, the table, I could import more.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. So and then they would actually show up here.
Yeah.
So I thought the spreadsheet was pretty cool. Like I say, my last article covered quite a few things on there. And then I can actually create a view from this. I go back to it. I love the way that it groups the views. There we go. So if I wanted to create a new view from this particular table, I can do another form. I can create a list detail. I can create a Kanban. I don't know. Let's see if we can do this. There we go.
This is an interesting bug that you'll see there.
Yeah. And it automatically put my categories as the color, which is kind of neat. So, David, did you have something else to say about the Kanban?
Yeah, I just tried to create a Kanban yesterday, and there wasn't a field that had a value list associated with it, and it wouldn't allow me to create it. There was an option to allow me to create it, but there's a bug somewhere that I need to document that it doesn't do it.
Yeah, because I've made some without the value list, but I'm not sure what I did. Maybe I just created a new one and then added fields to it. But again, if you look at the sidebar, it'll tell you the fields that are available.
Yeah.
And then I've got, more views that I can link that are linked to the same table. I can customize the card, what's shown in the card. If I don't, if I don't want to show the title, I don't. Subtitle, I don't. But it allows you to choose the particular fields that are on the card. It's only 4 at this point, which is fine with me. And the idea is to be able to move things around. I've just changed this category to not categorize. If I put it back in green, oh, green. Now you're green. If I look at this record, it should say green. Let's see. Vince on the phone. Let's do. I'm actually going to close this. Okay, there we go. There's the record. And it didn't change the color of the value. It just moved it around on the Kanban. So that was good.
No, it should. It should have changed that color field.
It did. It's green.
It's to green now. Okay, because that was my category. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten so far. My next article is on the forums on Kanban, but any kind of questions on Studio or anything you want to share, or any links that you might find helpful for other people to know, that'd be great. But what I put in the chat was what I actually had on the form itself.
All right. I'm curious because I asked the question, has anybody broken Claris Studio lately? And David says he's broken it every day. You have a broken dashboard. So what happened there?
I was editing a summary object, and it said, you'll just see I posted it to the community in the Claris Studio area, but basically came back with that screen that said something went wrong. And I've never been able to get it back again. It's a dashboard there that just basically cycles through now to something went wrong every time. So it's permanently broken.
Oh, and then so we don't have like a backup or restore sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, once you migrate a table to Studio from Pro, there's no way to delete it right now. And I think that was one of the answers on the forum. Yeah, charting could use some work. I agree, Caitlin. Like the colors especially. Okay, John Rosen says works well with multiple companies using the same solution. And I didn't show you that, but using my Claris ID, I'm actually associated with Richard Carlton was doing some testing, so he put me on his. So when I'm on his team, I can only see his view, the views that he's created. And when I go into Claris Pro, I can only see, again, the data tables that he's created. And he made me a manager so I can also create my own, but they, we only show up on that team. And then when I switch back to the team that I'm using right now, I've added Eric and Vince and Tony as team members, and all they had to do was have a Claris ID. They didn't actually have to have Claris Pro at all. If they want to see the data in Claris Pro, then yeah, they need to get the app, but they could work with Studio just fine.
But if you were doing like a solution for some industry, you would, you're saying every single user for every single company would have to have a Claris login.
Only if they are working within Claris Studio. If it's a shared form, like the form and the chart that I put out, you didn't have to log in for that. And I could actually share the spreadsheet and it would have been the same. There's a couple things you can't do when it's shared, but it would be the same thing. As people could get in there and edit. They can edit what you allow them to edit, and you only share what you allow them to share. You got a form you don't want somebody to see, or you got a spreadsheet or a dashboard you don't want them to see, don't share it. But that doesn't require a login for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that was something I had to kind of wrap my head around. Is you've got the Claris Studio browser base that has, it's an editor, creator. It allows you to move the form fields around, and that's a login with Claris ID to do that. And team members that are allowed into your hubs wherever you assign them as members. Like I could have 20 hubs and I only, share like 2 of them with those members that I shared them with. So they don't, if they log in, even with their Claris ID, they don't see all of my hubs and all of my views that I've got. If I don't add a view to a hub, they don't see it. But then when I actually create the form, I've got a little button that I toggle that says, share this form. And then it's a public link that stays. It used to be change each time that you shared and unshared, but now once it's created, that link is valid. Even if you disable it, the link is still the same link, but people can't see it when they click on it. It'll ask them to log in, which is, at that point, you're not sharing the form anyway. So if they don't have a login, they're not going to see anything. So I thought that was pretty handy. Most of Studio Chrome either does the views that are given. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right, Steve. So we were going to try to have the team all change stuff at the same time and see what happens. We did that the other day, and you have to refresh your browser. So it was Vince and Eric and I all on at the same time, and we were making changes on things. And so we'd say, okay, refresh your browser. Now what do you see, kind of thing. And so you have to be really careful if you're going to share something, even with a Claris ID, and have a team work on any of the views that the Kanban view, the charts, any of that. If you share that as a team with your team, you have to say, hey, look, we want to be really careful that we're not messing up what somebody creates a field and somebody else deletes it. Well, it's gone, so Even as a member, you might be able to do something that you didn't intend them to do. But a manager can see all of them. Did we have any other questions? I'm gonna go back to my preview. Gonna share again. Okay, so then we have the actual QR code. I forgot to show you. And then we were going to try to show you what happens when the team starts at it. But you can imagine what will happen. And so when they had it so that you could share everything, and including the spreadsheet, and you could give this anonymously to people, and there were certain things they could do and certain things they couldn't do, but they still could change things. And it's just, whoa, that's not good. Okay, and then Q&A, that's everything I had, but we'll take more questions, or if somebody else has something they want to share. We're good with that.
Can you show what you did to share the chart in a form?
Yeah. I will go back to that. Okay. Stop the sharing. Back to here. Sharing again. Okay. All right. Back to my hub. All of these are actually shared. And once you create a form, you click the share button.
Mm-hmm.
And you enable it. Again, this link is now permanent. If I turn that off, which I'm going to, it's no longer, you guys can't submit any more data. It's still a valid link, but it won't let you actually change anything. If I want a whole new link, for instance, I can delete this link, and next time I share, then it'll give me a new link. And that's kind of handy too. I like that. Say done. And then, so once I had it sharing for the form, I also have the share button on Kanban. And I also have the share button on table. And I also have the share button on chart.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to share that first form. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to preview. Preview is pretty cool. You can change to dark mode if you like. I don't. And then it allows you to actually look at what you're creating in a smaller view, tablet view, and then laptop. So I thought that was pretty nice. That's true for all the views. You can look at the form and see what it would look like in the phone.
Mm.
I love when they added this thing. Preview. It's like on the phone. See, it kind of squished stuff down. So my recommendation was, look at how long this was. In my label, I made this really long label. Well, it doesn't look very good when you view it on the phone. So you want to keep that in mind if you're creating fields and putting labels on them. What you see in that view, I do recommend that you actually test what it looks like on mobile before you share it, because it'll look kind of funny. There's more of that markdown text that I put on there. So did that answer your question? David, like say,
Interesting.
once I did the form and shared it, then the others were available to share, but again, you want to be really, really careful that what you share, what you don't share.
Yeah.
So if I
I'm
go
just
back,
curious because didn't they make changes to what can be publicly
yeah,
shared?
they did. I can change the sharing from here.
Yeah, that's for the form, but what about for the chart? Hmm.
Well, once I shared the form, then I
Hmm.
had the sharing available. But I had I've got some, I don't know if I've got any spreadsheets. This is one that came with it.
Because I've got a shared form, but I can't share anything else.
Yeah, see, even though the form isn't shared right now, I could turn that back on.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the same thing and seeing I've got views with a particular table, and I can't share anything else other than form.
Than the form.
Didn't they make a change to that, Steve?
They did, and maybe I have an earlier version that lets me change that. But if I've got one that
I think you do.
yeah, because I can't share this because I
Yeah,
don't have the form shared.
I think you must have views that you've created in an earlier version of Claris Studio, because
That
right now you can't
maybe.
share charts.
Yeah, we did make a change. I don't know why. Like, for example, you could put a chart in a web viewer, but now you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I can't do it on some of these other ones. So there was something.
I think they might have been existing views, Bev, that were before they changed Claris Studio, and you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I think that is
And,
probably the case. Is
yeah, I
we
think you're right.
yeah, we grandfathered in settings that you might have already had, but then going forward, you can't duplicate those same settings.
Right. Yeah, because I can't do that now on the
Yeah.
sample data that's come in that they give you. When you actually get it, they give you a bunch of sample data, and they give you sample chart, dashboard. I
That
gotta
was
tell
just
you, I love that sidebar so much. You can do other summary fields too.
yeah. It was a comment in the community,
Yeah.
and something I think that Claris should know, that not being able to share a dashboard really takes away a major part of visualizing data for Claris Studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah, because
really
you should
like
be
them to
able to
put that
see it in a web viewer is what the original thought was. That would be
Yeah,
nice.
but I mean, I would like to do what you've done there and be able to say, if you want to see the results of the survey, just go to this link, and it's just an anonymous look at the dashboard.
Yeah, but they
So
changed that. So they
I
changed.
hope that Claris do change that back again and say, dashboards really need to be public, able to be public, just like forms need to be public. I don't care about the spreadsheets or the list view or anything like that. But the dashboards, geez, yeah, they really need that use case.
Yeah. I see John Rose on portal view. What portal? No portals. You have a single table for all your views. It's what you see is what you get. It's just
Can
it's
you
Closest
just
to
say,
get
fields.
to relational design is setting up a value list from another table.
Yeah.
so if you had, like, simple example, 3 phone numbers for someone,
You would create 3 fields.
Yep.
ooh, all right, that's That's not taking advantage of.
Oh, we know,
You
and
know,
they know.
okay.
Like the address, when you bring an address block over to something, it actually gives you like several fields all at one time. And so there's a capability of doing something, but I don't think they quite have it set up so that when you bring it back into Claris Pro that you have, you know, really is sort of separate.
All right. Well, I guess when we can start playing with it, can try converting a
Yeah.
file, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and Steve also says, yeah, the design is, I love that. I really think it's very responsive. And I check that preview on anything that I think I'm going to share just because I want to see what it's going to look like on the iPad or the phone. And some people had trouble with some of the different browsers, but I've tried it in Safari and Firefox. I've got Edge, but I haven't actually tried it there. But other people said it works pretty well in Edge too. I loved your question, David, about the fail that we answered. Yeah, that's scary. See if I can find a spreadsheet. The question came up on the community, and I don't want to mess my data up, but what was this little box about? And then
Yep.
it changes to the 4 arrows.
Mhm.
And the idea is that you can select it. Oh, I can't now. I can't. There, I just
Yeah, you
did.
did.
I just did. Okay, you can select it and fill down or fill up, and it automatically, like a spreadsheet, you know, you've got the fill down. I haven't been able to do full right or left, but I think it has to do with the actual type of column that is. So you wouldn't want to put first name into a number column or
Yeah.
things
You
like
wouldn't
that.
want to fill left or right.
Right. So
Wouldn't
I'm
it
not
be
sure why
easier?
they have the arrows 4 ways, but
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be easier to just open a new window, perform a find, limit it to the records you want, and then do a replace field contents?
Oh, geez,
Much
you need
faster.
FileMaker or something.
yeah. Well, you can.
I'm kidding. God.
Yeah, you can filter out, you know, just show certain things, and you can select only what, you know, you want to select to filter on and
Just
make
just
changes
showing
and
that
stuff.
the comment that I made on the community post was
Mhm.
that is an absolutely horrible implementation of that, because what you just did was you just overwrote data and it didn't even ask you. It
Right. Okay.
just
So
smashed the data.
yeah, going
And
from latex to shellfish,
yep,
it did. It replaced that particular.
it's an absolutely horrible interface, and it doesn't even work from a UI point of view. I'm just surprised that that it's even there. It's
Yeah.
just nasty. It's just in the sort of Google thing of do no harm. It's possible just to smash your entire 100 rows and get them all with the same data in it without even being asked.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nuts.
Steve answers with, Jerry, you can just put it into Claris Pro and do your stuff there. And that was also, I think, part of the point we're trying to make is that if you've got something you're doing in Studio and it's great and you can, you know, you can publish it and share it, and you can even do some sort of manipulation a little bit in Studio for for the spreadsheet view, but you have to be really, really careful. For the most part, you're going to want to open that up in Claris Pro to do whatever it is you need to do, because people are going to spell things wrong. Like we had different browsers, Safari was spelled differently, and it was, you know, it wasn't all one value, where once you would get that into Claris Pro, you certainly can make that change, and what you would see back in Studio would then be whatever you've changed in Claris Pro. So,
I mean, I was being completely facetious because I would
oh, we
love,
know.
I know, I would love a fill down feature in Table View in FileMaker.
Oh yeah.
That would be awesome. But yeah, I like that feature. Although David's point about the fact that there's no warning is kind of
Yeah.
disturbing. Yeah.
Yeah. I also noticed that when you do an entry in an email field or a phone field, there's no validation on the spreadsheet view. So there are a couple things I think they're working on, and every time that there's an issue come up, I make sure I click this little feedback button, and you know, while I've got it open, I'll even make a screenshot of where I am at that point so that I've got a copy of what I sent them as feedback. They just added that you can put your little click and say email me. So if you've made a short description and they don't quite understand what you meant, and you want them to contact you about what did you mean about that, well, I've made my screenshot and I'll share that whole screenshot with you, and then you just send it on, and it, you know, they gather it. So that's pretty good. The help there's another one I wanted to, has the what's new. So there's actually a page that you can link to, but every time they come out with a new version, they've got all of the information that's on there. Filters on dashboards just came out. Breadcrumbs. I love the breadcrumbs. Timestamp fields about the time zone, that was new this time. Last time there was quite a few changes. Conditionally show or hide a field, which I haven't played with yet. Just, you're changing it faster than I can keep up. And I think you said that once, Steve, that the documentation people are looking for isn't going to be there because they're changing it too fast.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to elaborate on that too much, but it is challenging, right? If we come up with a new version of Claris Studio every 2 or 3 weeks, it makes it tough to come up with documentation for it. Should we have documentation for it? 100%, absolutely, we should.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be obsolete in 2 or 3 weeks, it's challenging. So we're figuring it out.
And then the help center was the other one that he was talking about, that there's quite a few things on there that do get changed. You know, get started with Claris Server they've added. Create an extended ID they've added when they had the first 4. You know, how to convert from Studio to Pro back, I guess. Bring your data in. The differences, which is also a really good one. For people wanting to know what is different in Claris Pro and FileMaker Pro, this is the list. And it's really, really, really good. Authentication, Claris ID only. Server, Linux only. Format change. Some of the things that are not supported, you know, we're kind of crossing our fingers that it'll be there. Snapshot link is, of course, just a different extension. Custom web publishing with PHP, not supported. But it's deprecated anyway, so we don't care, right? A couple of things related to accounts, of course, it's not in that version of the Claris Pro. And they just did an update on Claris Pro, which I don't think I've downloaded yet. resources when you actually have it. You
should.
can download the.
Have a look at the release notes for Claris Pro. There's an interesting change in the migration that you can now migrate tables with calculation and summary fields, and they just become supplementary fields in Claris Pro.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Look at the release notes on Mac on the.
Oh,
page.
yeah, I haven't looked at the release. I was going to say I haven't upgraded yet, so I
Yeah.
can't keep up with it. It's just, I'm constantly testing stuff and new stuff comes out and I haven't gotten that far yet, but well, that's cool.
Yep.
So calculation fields come across as,
Well, they stay in Claris Pro as supplementary fields.
oh yeah, I knew that.
No, they didn't before. They've only just changed that.
In Claris Pro, you could create the shadow calculations and summaries, right?
Yeah. But in Claris Pro, you couldn't migrate a table if it had a calculation field in
Oh,
it.
that's right. That's correct.
Now you can, and it creates a shadow supplementary field.
Okay. Oh, well, that's cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
It is.
It has to be in my next article, I guess. Or you'll blog about it, David.
Yeah.
But really, any questions on any of this? I mean, they are changing stuff so fast, and I'm really happy. But we're a lot of us are in there testing and playing and trying to get information out to the rest of you that don't have it in hand yet. And if there's something that you think you would love to see that we haven't asked, okay, annotate. Okay, go ahead and annotate. Caitlin?
Didn't mean it.
Huh? Oh, okay. That was an accident?
Yep.
Okay. Gotta turn it off. Yeah, like I said, we know that not everybody has it in hand yet, and several of us are trying to get out there. There's lots of really good videos that are already up there. The headers have changed. You no longer see the top header from that first video that Steve did, which, and then when I did my first article, the header had changed, but now it's gone altogether. So it's just kind of, hang in there. It's there, it's changed, but it's the same. Anything you think you want to know about, post here, post to the DIGFM channel in community, post in the studio, Claris Studio channel, and say, look, we need information about this and information about that, and several of us will jump in and answer.
Really, you should mention something about converting a file to Claris Pro because it's a one-way conversion.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that first article that y'all posted in the chat, that's what the second article, that's what it talks about, your conversion. That was the one that, who posted that? Oh, Sam posted the hacks article. Part 2 integration with Claris Pro talks all about the migrating. I'll bring that up. Can you? Yeah, see, this is no longer valid with the calculation field. But you get it, you get, all the information about what the dialogues show as you're doing the migration. It is one way. This shows you exactly what the difference is. You don't have the authentication stuff. I think, David, you also talked about some of this stuff. But
And
talk
just,
all about migrating. So
yeah,
go
and just
ahead.
to elaborate on it a little bit more, what Bev says is true. Really, the big changes with your file when you convert it from an FMP12 file to a .claris file center around security. And it's mainly because as of right now, the Claris platform only uses Claris ID as the main way of authentication. But if anybody hears the word conversion and they hark back to the FileMaker 6 to FileMaker 7 days, this is not like this at all. It is relatively painless. And in the brief testing that I've done, 99.999% of everything that worked in my FMP12 file has worked in a .claris file also.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no need to worry about converting the file, but just like it is with every other file conversion, it is a one-way street. We do copy the file, so you'll have your old file to use if you need to, but you can't go backwards, make changes in the .claris file, and then expect to convert it back to a .fmp12 file. That doesn't work, and that's never worked in any of our conversion processes.
Yeah, this is what the dialog looks like when you're converting. You can rename the file or leave it as is. It's not going to change the extension on the old one at all. It just changes the extension on the new one, and it'll be named exactly the same. I also, in my testing, I've not had anything fail. It comes across from FileMaker Pro to Claris Pro. It's beautiful. You get a conversion log. Now, this is really simple. There might be more information on there if you've got things in there. So you actually get a wonderful message, once you've converted. And then it changes it from being a FileMaker profile to, I think it says Claris. Got it in here somewhere. Claris Studio data source. Once you migrate it from Claris Pro to Studio, it then becomes that shadow table, and it's stored up there on the Mongo database. Okay, anybody else? Let's see. Okay, David just posted his blog. And Tony posted the link that says the difference between Claris and FileMaker. There's a lot of videos that are really good out there. People have been talking about this for a long time. As it changes, watch the video and say, oh, that isn't exactly like it is now. And that's okay. Take a breath, move on. Okay. Any other questions? How are we doing? Anybody have anything they want to share? If we have time? I think we did pretty good. Okay.
It looks like it's coming along nicely, and it's a good demo. Good demos.
Yeah.
Good preso.
Yeah. And really, like I said, our main point was that once you have it as a team, you have to be really, really careful about, who changes what and when, because it's no locking. You can't, you're either a manager or a member, and the members can do a lot of things that the managers can. So, it can change a field name, rename it. They can change what the view looks like, which is okay if you're moving columns. That's not quite as critical. If you want somebody to change a form and you want to give them permission to do that, they can change the look of it, but tell them don't change the field names, or, change the label, make it shorter so it shows up on the iPhone, or things like that. Be really explicit about what you want to allow them to change, then it's not too bad. But I did like the fact that you do have teams, and once you're on a team, then you can also see what you've got in Claris Pro. How are we doing? Anything else we need to share? Next meeting. When's our next meeting?
This meeting is in December. December
Second Thursday.
December 8th, I think. So, yeah, December 8th. And I will be talking about transactions.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I will share everything I know about Galt, California.
Right.
As if Vince wasn't a big enough draw, you'll have that to look forward to also.
There you go.
Post questions to the DIGFM, announcement for this meeting or Claris Studio, and those of us that have been playing with it a lot can answer most of the questions. If we don't know, we certainly will say we don't know either, or it's going to change, because it will.
It's moving very quickly, so
Yeah,
it's cool.
that is very cool.
Thank you, Beverly, so much
Yeah.
for all the blog posts that you've written and all the time you've been spending on this and all the stuff that you've been sharing with the whole community and your presentation tonight, especially.
Yep. People ask me why I write, and I say, because I want to know. And that's, as soon as I got it, I said, I'm going to start playing with stuff. I'm probably going to break it, but, oh well. That's usually what I do.
My whole philosophy when I was doing a lot of training classes was I would teach sometimes I would teach something I'd never done before. And I would just say, let's see what happens when we do this. And, I would pretend that I knew what I was doing, even though I didn't. And, by the end of the class, I knew how it worked. So it's great. It's a great way to learn. Teaching is a terrific way to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes I actually knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. And I've done a few other presentations where you start from the very beginning, but, at this point, you can look at some of the past videos of other user groups, say, here's step 1, step 2, the blogs that are out there, step 1, step 2, step 3, here's how to do it kind of thing. And there'll be more user groups, I'm sure, in the next month that will have more about this. From that point of view, saying, okay, you've just gotten this, now here's what you do, and here's how to create a form and drag stuff around, and here's how to add a field and rename a field or rename a table, things like that, that maybe is not in the help right now. But asking on the forum is really an excellent place to get us all thinking about it and discovering. And somebody will ask a question and I didn't know anything. What, like David's question about the four-headed arrow? I had no idea what that was. I didn't even find it before, so that was pretty good. I appreciate it.